happened the worst date that I have ever been on. And if you know me, you know that that's saying a lot, because not that I go on a lot of dates, but the quality of them, oof, through the floor. It's been a week. I'm ready to break my silence. I had matched this person on Hinge and we got to talking. Let me start with the pre-text to the date. So we were texting and she took fucking forever to respond. And not that that bothers me, but if you want to talk to someone, you will. And it wasn't really doing anything to make me feel like I wanted to go on the date. So it was also very confusing because we were talking in the app and on Hinge, and she was the first one who mentioned going to grab drinks. And then I brought it up again, and then she brought it up again. So she's brought it up twice now. And something that I also really struggle with is who's gonna pay for the date. And everybody that I spoke to told me that she should pay because she's older, she has a better job than me. She asked, and I am not very affluent at the moment because I'm paying off too many PayPal pay in 4 plans. But anyway, that's a story for another day. So I just wanted to be prepared because I also never like to be in a situation where I couldn't pay if needed or if asked. So money is just like, I'm weird with money. I don't know, it makes me, it can be a really strange thing if you don't have the same views as someone else. So I wanted to make sure that I had enough money. She told me that she was being really cautious with COVID through March. And I didn't know what was happening in March, but I'm being really cautious with COVID, so I was like, okay, this is great. And I actually haven't stepped out of my house since New Year's Eve. I haven't done anything social really. Everything's been in my home. I work from home, etc. I do at least 1 test a week. Vaccinated, boosted, the works, you get me. She said she was being really cautious, so she did not want to go to a bar. So I spent the entire day after she told me that crowdsourcing from my friends, from my coworkers, from anybody that I know in Berlin who might have a good idea for a first date bar that has good vibes. And if you know Berlin, you'll know that most of the bars here are not very glamorous. They genuinely look like someone's living room. It's a bunch of couches, some exposed cement walls. You can smoke inside, and neither of us smoke, so that was something that I definitely didn't want to have. I didn't want to go to anywhere that the cocktails would be like 15 euros a drink. I wanted to go somewhere that had indoor and outdoor seating, and if it was outdoors, it was so cold last week, so I wanted to make sure there's some sort of heating option. So basically I have my criteria. I'm asking my friends for suggestions. I'm looking up places that are on my list of places that I want to go to eventually. And I am basically coming up short. I came up with the idea that we could go on a Späti crawl. So a Späti is basically like a late night shop. You can get like drinks and snacks and stuff there. So I figured instead of like a bar crawl, we could do a Späti crawl, just grab a beer, walk around. So we still have drinks, we're walking around, so hopefully we're not too cold. We're avoiding indoors at all costs. Seems like a good option. And she told me that that could be our plan B when we didn't even have a plan A. First red flag. So then I end up going on the date. Like, I looked really good and had like a cute outfit on, and till the day that I left, like until last Friday, we had been speaking about it like the week leading up to it, and then on Friday I still didn't know where I was going. All I knew was to be in a certain neighborhood at a certain time. Mind you, this neighborhood is her neighborhood, so I'm traveling 45 minutes to go meet her when she's just walking down the street. Second red flag. So I told her that it takes me a long time to get anywhere, and that's the only reason that I got the neighborhood from her, because I told her I needed to plan to figure out how I was going to get there. And of course, Berlin, public transportation, there was some sort of issue. I think a doctor was needed for a passenger on the train, so the trains were all messed up, like 50 shades of fucked. So I got on the train. The train was like this certain train going to these stops, and then while I was on it, it changed to be a different train. Super confusing. There was also delays at all of the stops. At one point, the lights just completely went out on the train. All of these All of these things are telling me not to go, but I persevered for the worst. Mind you, when I'm on my way, she gave me 2 streets to show up to. She gave me a corner to go to. I should also mention that, going back to she's not a great texter, she told me that she literally deletes WhatsApp during the workday because she'll get too distracted, and it's like, just put your phone in a different room, maybe. Discipline. So it would take her like hours on end, like between our schedules, because she was up really late at night because she had work with like North America. She had meetings really late at night. I go to bed at 8 p.m. because I wake up at 4 in the morning to go to the gym. So our schedules were just completely off, and we probably exchanged like 4 texts throughout the day during the time that we were talking. So I'm showing up to a corner, there's hella train problems, I know basically nothing about this person that I'm meeting, and I ended up taking a bus from a train station because the trains were messed up, but the buses should be running on schedule, so I figured that was an easier, faster, more cohesive option, and I texted her throughout the way. I kept her updated with my journey, told her exactly what time I was going to show up there, and gave her a 10-minute heads up. I gave her the 10-minute heads up, and then I show up at the corner. No one to be found. Not sure if I'm getting ghosted, catfished, about to be kidnapped, who knows. And I texted her and I was like, hey, I'm here. And she was like, okay, I'll leave now. I gave her a heads up and she decides to leave when I get there. 3rd red flag at this point? Who knows? I've lost track. Just red flag. She also asked me, are you on the north side or the south side? I said, because I was fed up at this point, I was like, I don't know, I left my compass at home. No laugh. My joke did not get the justice it deserved, which major red flag. So she shows up, she doesn't even stop walking, because I had sat down on a bench. She doesn't even stop walking to greet me. She's just like, hey, okay, we're going this way, and it was like a drive-by. She just like picks me up along the way and I'm following her. I have no idea where we're going, and she takes me to this one bar and we go inside to get drinks. Like, it's pretty crowded inside, but we're wearing our masks. There's tables so we can sit outside. So we go inside and get a drink, and she asked what I wanted, and I told her that I would pay if she ordered, because she was learning German. So I was like, haha, you can practice your German, even though I heard people speaking English, so it really wasn't like me trying to force her to do anything she doesn't want to do. And she was like, haha, no, like, let me pay. And I was like, no, seriously, like, I was late, it's fine, just let me pay. So I know that the drinks we were getting total 8 euros, and I gave her a 10, and I just assumed she would either give me the change or give the money to the bartender. Assumptions kill, because I watched her get the change, the 2 euros back, and then give 1 euro to the bartender and then pocket the other euro. We're making a quilt with all of the red flags at this point. Anyway, so we go outside and we sit down and we're talking, and basically the entire time she's talking about herself. Like, I don't think once she asked me a question about myself except to ask me the question that I had asked her. So it would be like, what's your favorite color? Oh, blue, how about you? Pink, okay, when's your birthday? October, how about you? Like, it was never, oh, like, tell me about your job. What do you do for a living? What is one interest you have? Like, I don't know. So we're sitting outside. Such a fine human being comes outside and asks for a lighter, and I literally keep a lighter in my purse. I don't smoke, but I keep a lighter in my purse for nights out, just in case an attractive human being needs one, so I can be like, there you go. You know? The lighter doesn't fucking work. How embarrassing is that? Anyway, I should have asked them out at that point. I should have written my number on the lighter, be like, oh, it doesn't work, but I can put in some work. Call me. Anyway, so we're talking and we decided to go to another bar, and we're walking around, and a lot of the conversation also has revolved around the topic of drugs, and on Hinge you can write if you like smoke weed, if you drink, if you smoke cigarettes, or there's like a pill emoji. And I have everything filled out because I think it's important that people know those things, because those can either be a make or break for someone or like really triggering topics. So I think it's important to lay everything out there, and then if there's something that you don't agree with and you don't match and you don't waste your time. She only had 2 of them filled out, and it said that she drinks sometimes and she didn't smoke, and a lot of this conversation was just like talking about drugs, and it was making me massively uncomfortable. And she also never said, oh, like, is it okay that we talk about this, because you never know, like, the situation that somebody's been in. Like, it's just not great to just have that be the first conversation. So we go to the second bar, and she orders this time, and I let her because I was kind of fed up. She was like, she ordered something, and she was like, oh, like, what do you want? And I was like, I'll get whatever you want, like, whatever you're getting, just get me one of those. I'm not very picky. I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I come back from the bathroom, and the bartender's obviously already in the process of making the drinks, and she turns to me, and like, as a joke, she's like, oh, haha, I hope you're not allergic to egg. First of all, what if I was? Second of all, is now a good time to tell you that I'm vegan? And the vegan in me and the Libra in me were like butting heads, because I was like, okay, I don't want to cause issues, like, I don't want her to spend her money on another drink. And I was like, just so you know, I'm vegan, like, for the future. And she was like, oh, I'm sorry, like, you don't have to drink that. And I was like, she told me. She was like, why didn't you tell me? You didn't ask me any questions about myself? Like, what? And so we just like started playing a game, and we were talking about like gay stereotypes, and I think this is where it really started to go downhill for me. I kind of shut down after this. She also, when I was speaking on things, the very few questions that she asked me back that I had an opinion that was more than one sentence on, I would be telling my point of view and just answering honestly, and sometimes there was an opinion involved, and I could not get through one singular sentence without her cutting me off, interrupting me, interjecting her own opinion, and then she finished it off with the beautiful, we'll just have to agree to disagree. Anyway, so we got on the topic of movies, and I asked her what her favorite gay movie is, so just one movie, and she was like, oh, that's really hard, can I pick 3? And I was like, sure, okay. And she's a Libra as well. I should really stop dating Libras. My favorite is Portrait of a Lady on Fire. I think it's really well done. The story is very interesting, made me cry, like, great movie overall. And she was like, okay, yeah, my top 3 would probably be Portrait of a Lady on Fire, Call Me by Your Name. This is when I launched into my opinion, because I was like, no, I don't think that we should accept that as accurate or acceptable queer representation in film and media, because it is disgusting how the story is written. The age difference is just unnecessary. It's just, I actually have not seen the movie, so I'm not speaking to the movie, and I'll just speak on the book. But I read the book, and I really didn't like how he wrote some of these things, and I just think that it really plays into the fact that queer people are already seen as predatory, and it's not healthy, and it's not something that kids should look up to and idolize. And to be completely honest, this might piss some people off, the only people that I've seen who have idolized this movie as much as they have are straight women. And I don't really understand it, but that's just something I've noticed. And this is when she just gave me her own opinion and said, we'll have to agree to disagree. And I was like, okay, moving on. What's number 3? Brokeback fucking Mountain. I should have gotten up and left right there. And so we got into an argument talking about how she thinks that was really like great representation, and she was like, then she kept falling back on the argument, you have to understand this was the only sort of queer representation that we had when I was a kid. Granted, she is a few years older than me. And I was like, two things can be true at the same time. You can appreciate the fact that it was the only representation you had while also being upset that it wasn't good representation. Additionally, I get like it's not like the concept of a gay person is new and Hollywood just can't find them. It's just that they're not willing to look and like hire anybody who hasn't already done 37 movies and is a big name. So you're just gonna sit here and accept that two cis straight white men made millions of dollars on that movie and talking about, oh my god, it was such a changing point for Hollywood and all this shit, when it was a poorly done film, the storyline was a mess, and it's not good representation. Anyway, that's my hill that I'll die on another day, but just there's so many other movies to choose from. Why those two? So then I was like, okay, I need to go cool down, so I'm gonna go to the bathroom. And every time I would say that I was going to the bathroom, she'd be like, oh yeah, that's fine. And it started like rubbing me the wrong way because it was happening so often that I kind of snapped back at her. And I was like, I don't need your permission to use the restroom. I'm just letting you know so you're not sitting here alone and I feeling like I just walked away. And she was like, my ex always did that. Like, it was super annoying. Like, she would always say, like, I don't need your permission when I said, like, it's fine. And I was like, and you didn't learn from that? Like, you're sitting here consciously telling me that someone else has explicitly expressed that they don't like when you do that, and you're just going to continue to do it. Anyway, lack of self-awareness. She did confirm that she goes to therapy, so I'd like to name a number of her therapists because she should be fired. After I got back from the bathroom and the movie discussion, we actually went inside for one more drink, and she had gone to the bathroom, and I also bought this third round of drinks, so I've now put more time, energy, effort, money, mental health into this date than she has. And I made a friend who was standing next to me in line, and he was super sweet and really nice. We got to talking, and so I asked if he wanted to do like a shot together. So when she got back from the bathroom, I had shots for all three of us. I let her pick like what she wanted, and then I also got her a beer. So I bought her a beer and a shot, and then also myself a beer and a shot. And the person who was bartending, it was actually the bouncer, had hopped on behind the bar because they were really crowded, and I tried to tip him. I gave him a 20 and I tried to tip him the rest because they were super busy and they were doing a great job and people were being kind of like rude to them down the bar. And he told me it was too much money, and this girl was like, you really tried to tip him that much? And I was like, there's nothing wrong with just giving people money. There's nothing wrong with that. And he actually ended up not taking it, so I only tipped him about half what that was, but basically like the price of our drinks. So again, just like chalking that up to being rude to service staff, and I was a bartender and I've told her that in the course of this date, so it's like the fact that she felt the need to comment on that, I wasn't a fan of. And then after we went back outside, I'm trying to be more honest and communicative, especially with dates and romantic relationships, and I told her, I was like, listen, I think that the vibe has kind of changed in the past few minutes and I think that I should probably just go. And she was like, yeah, you should. And I was like, okay. So I thought we were gonna like finish our drinks and then I would call an Uber, like whatever. No. She gets up from the table, she leaves her half-empty drink, she gets up from the table and she walks away. Like, I'm literally sitting there, I haven't even opened the Uber app, and I'm sitting there and she walks away from the table because we're in her neighborhood, so she probably just walked down the street and went to her apartment. I was like, okay, fuck this, finished my drink, and then I ordered an Uber, and I live like a little bit further away, like outside of the city limits. By the time I got home, it was like 2 in the morning, and I figured, okay, like regardless that ended on a shitty note, I'm not gonna not ask if she got home okay. So I texted her and I asked, I was like, hey, just wanted to make sure you got home okay. She texted me back 45 minutes later, which I saw the next day, and she said, yeah, hope you did too. And and that was the end of that. That was my first date in at least 6 months, I want to say, probably more. I just like don't really date much in general because of shit like that. So I'll probably be back to maybe a 1-year hiatus of dating because that was just messy. But you know, it's a good story. Happy weekend.